Man, Rapunzel has some of the coolest idle animations in the game. She's not going to do the sword lift right here, but I just wanted to say that. Up front, Coop's going to be taking Rapunzel against the foul hordes of the Beastmen. Yes, Beastmen can be a tough matchup. Oh, there, she's doing it. She's doing it. Oh yeah. Anyway. Torox is a menace to all societies everywhere. So, Rapunzel plus the Green Knight are going to try and duel him. Damsel Lore of Life. Do support, of course. We've got plenty of mobs, some swordsmen-at-arms, spearmen-at-arms, battle pilgrims, including the Holy Wardens. Pretty good choice to help deal some DPS. I also like the Mounted Yeomen. Skirmish infantry is really tough to protect against Beastmen, especially these days. Though the Yeoman archers can kind of provide a little bit of mobile skirmish force. A nice trader can going to be popped. Does hit all of the Mounted Yeomen and these two characters here as well. But straight up the pipe, Torox just getting it. He's going to immediately run away, though, because, yeah, he does not want any of the Rapunzel plus Green Knight together. That is definitely not a fair fight at all for him, so wisely tries to avoid that. The Beastmen do have quite a bit of missile troops, Ungor Raiders, Ungor's throwing axes, plenty of Ungor spears, as to be expected, 2 Manticores, Torox, and 2 Lord Wildcasters. Literally just double Traderkin. Wow, that's degenerate. Anyway. You can see the Manticore does charge in the back line, trying to get after these Mounted Yeomen, but the Pegasus Knights are going to immediately respond. Royal Pegasus Knights even, so they should be able to come in here and very quickly defeat this Pharaoh Manticore, although you can see I complain constantly about the pathing of multi-model flying units in any videos which they apply to, and just look at this. I mean, they're literally just horses on the ground, basically. Anyway. Which actually does make sense now that I think about it, but you would think they could be able to push through the Wardens of Montfort there. But anyway, they're still going to win that fight regardless, and if we take a look at the rest of the battlefield here, Men-at-Arms probably going to get terrified away by that Manticore there, so more threats perhaps collapsing. This big missile pocket of Beastmen, unfortunately, yeah, Bretonnia don't have any infantry skirmishers to directly punish, again, for the reasons I mentioned, which is probably the right call, but Footsquire's going to get in here. Torox trying to equalize this fight in the front line, but the Battle Pilgrims and the Footsquires are actually trading very well into the Beastmen infantry. They didn't really bring a lot of frontline shock units, so this light Bretonian infantry is not really going to face too much damage here. They should be able to push through and win the spine there. That Manticore is done for, and Royal Pegasus Knights took almost no damage in the process, so they can now move on to the next. Meanwhile, we've got a duel between the Green Knight and Torox. Again, Rapunzel charges in, but as soon as she does, Torox is like, are you kidding me? I'm not taking that fight. And he pulls away there. But the Green Knight, with the Rapunzel's buff, up to 70 attacks, 60 defense, does help out his combat stats just that little bit extra, putting him up into, like, Elven Duelist territory, which is pretty strong. But Torox pulling back up and around to try and get at Rapunzel. Nice Traderkin placement, once again, hits all these high-value units, in particular, of course, the 2 characters, but there is regrowth on the field, so that can be pretty quickly counteracted there on Rapunzel. Also refresh her vigor. You can see Torox is already very tired, so that vigor difference will be pretty important in the late game. The Manticore is going to try and charge in and finish Rapunzel out while she's still healing, but as soon as she turns around to start fighting, the Manticore gets distracted on the peasant mobs there. Very, very good job, peasants. Yeah, you're doing good. She's going to now just crump this Manticore in 1v1 melee combat for the lady. Yes, Rapunzel is such a cool character, man. I'm so glad they added her. The free LC Lords for the Warhammer 1 factions have been a really nice kind of addition. Unexpected. Both Thorek and Rapunzel were both not expected at all by me personally, so I would like to see that continued forward in future updates. But anyway, another pretty nice Traderkin placement does hit the Royal Pegasus Knights, who don't have too many other great targets to go after. I mean, they could try and get Torox in melee once he's isolated, but with all this support around, they're just going to quickly evaporate to all these Centaurs, so good to just keep them back for the time being and really try and use them carefully. Rapunzel and the Green Knight, though, one Manticore shatters. They're getting ready to shatter that other Manticore, but no, looks like the infantry support kind of gives out. They're instead going to turn and try and focus Torox here. I'm not sure if that Sunburst actually hit Torox. I think, yeah, it actually did. Looks like he's blinded, so his melee defense significantly debuffed. Here come the Pegasus Knights as well. They're going to rear charge, probably try and get a few attacks on Torox, although their pathing is kind of wonky, and again, they won't really get a good charge there. Might have got a handful of hits, but still. Regrowth is going to be popped on them. They've got 9, 8 models. They are losing models right now, so it's a good time to try and get that regrowth, even though they're not going to... Perhaps they should still get the full healing from it. There shouldn't be any overhealing there in terms of models, but let's see. This pocket of Bretonians still continuing to hold out, while the skirmish cavalry puts in especially some poison missiles from the Wardens of Montfort will be quite nice in this kind of late game fight. I don't know why my mouse is bugging out. I'm just going to... Yeah, that should be fine. Anyway, lots of Beastmen starting to rout here, and the terror of the Green Knight is definitely making its presence felt. Traderkin's not really enough. Damage scaling is better against low model count units, but not necessarily single model units, right? And especially with efficient healing here, and, you know, not a ton of other sources of magic damage. In fact, no other sources of magic damage. Green Knight's relatively unopposed. This is one of the reasons why the Regiment of Renowned Centaurs with great weapons, the Sons of Goros, that's right, they are still pretty important in this matchup. I mean, they would have also been good to counteract the Royal Pegasus Knights. Anything with physical resistance, not that, you know, the Green Knight's like super strong. You can beat him in other ways, just bogging him down in tons of low tier stuff we've seen before, you know, putting him in sort of... not quite Footlord jail, but Horse Lord jail, I guess, is a thing. Not as bad as Footlord jail, but I guess it's more like Footlord prison and Horse Lord jail, right? Anyway, the Royal Pegasus Knight's going to get a nice charge in support of Rapunzel here with that extra, again, melee defense from her little AoE buff. They're going to be able to get a few hits on these Centaurs with throwing axes. The axes are also being thrown at Rapunzel instead of the Pegasus Knights, which is okay, but... also, Rapunzel is at her healing cap, so she's got to be careful. Green Knight here, Scroll of Shielding, so he's taking essentially no damage, again, just to try and tank things out. Really nice regrowth here on these Royal Pegasus Knights, since, again, they're not at their healing cap. They're going to be one of the best options for healing in this late game, and having them continue to be able to cycle charge as much as possible in here. They're so few in number. Oh, and this Traderkin's probably going to finish them off, honestly. That is a pretty nasty Traderkin right there. Will they do enough damage to the Centaurs in the meantime? Another nice Sunburst from Rapunzel with the two kind of overlapping buffs, right? There's the debuff from the Blinded and the buff on the Pegasus Knights. They're 53-41 momentarily, while the Centaurs were 0-0. So even though it was a short timing burst, that was a very strong timing burst. And the Pegasus Knights are able to survive the Traderkin and actually win out this fight. Very impressive stuff. Of course, the terror of the Green Knight is a big factor there. And Rapunzel also having a nice single entity presence. Manticore charges in to try and finish things off, but it's the Royal Pegasus Knights are actually immune to psychology, just like Grail Knights would be, right? So they stand firm, at least for the time being. They may just die to the man here, down to only 5 unit models, but they do shatter the Manticore. Centaurs are pretty much all that's left, and all these Ungor Raiders. You can see Torok's kind of lurking in the background. He probably needed to charge in some time ago if he was going to have a chance of winning this fight. Needed to charge in with all of his support, but better late than never, I suppose. He's got a handful of Centaurs and some Spearmen. These other Centaurs are going to pull away, maybe throw their last volley of axes. The Royal Pegasus Knights are routed, but Rapunzel and the Green Knight sticking together back to back in this herd of Centaurs. Oh, man. I don't know what that was that just blew up, but it murdered my frame rates. Oh, was that Taurox's explosion? I guess it doesn't deal any damage to friendlies, just kind of disrupts their formation. But Damsel's going to go down here as well. So let's see. Balance of power was kind of in Bretonnia's favor slightly there, but it's going to turn into a late game grind as these two heroes combine. Let's see, we have a handful of mounted yeomen coming back there. They're probably not even going to get a single volley. Oh, these Pegasus Knights rallied. No way. There's 4 of them left with 200 HP. And, oh, man, the throwing axes just finished off one more. There's now 3. One rear charge could be enough to tear out a bunch of units here, but instead looks like they're going to shatter those Ungor Raiders. Wow. Just the clutch Royal Pegasus Knights in the late game. I love to see that personally. But Rapunzel's in a bit of trouble, taking some damage from Taurox. Can the Green Knight bail her out? A nice rear charge on the big brass bull. He does manage to get away, though. And now it's the Pegasus Knights fighting. One of them goes down. 2 of them go down. The last one. Oh, man, the Pegasus Knights probably going to get killed to a man here, but what a way to go. Maybe this one might escape. If everything just terror routes to Rapunzel and the Green Knight. Yes! That guy's a paladin now. He's officially gotten promoted to a paladin now. Wow. Huge thanks to Coops for sending that one in. Has to be one of my favorite replays I've seen so far this year, which granted has only been a few days, but still. Oh, awesome, awesome stuff. The Green Knight and Rapunzel both carrying some pretty massive value, and these two together definitely can take on Torox no problem. I love to see that. And the Royal Pegasus Knights also quite pay for themselves, but some critical tactical plays, and in the late game especially, being able to trigger some extra terror routes with their real charge damage, gathering a few units there. Mounted Yeomen, again, even though they don't pay for themselves, tactically very decent. I thought the Battle Pilgrims maybe would have done a little bit better, but I guess they were just cutting through Ungors in the front line. Maybe to be expected, those low valuations there. But yeah, just awesome, awesome stuff from these this character core for Bretonnia. On the Beastmen side, Torox did okay. The Brave Shamans, again, probably pay for themselves considering how cheap they are with that kit. I should note that double spells is technically illegal in tournaments, but that's okay. This is just a quick battle, I'm sure. Centaurs are throwing axes, though. I mean, they are quite good here. The fact that you can actually kill Bretonian models with the throwing axes, unlike, say, if you're throwing at a big single-entity lizard, the damage will matter more, right? Because they can't resurrect those unit models, so pretty nice to have, I would say, in any kind of counter-cavalry situation, but just a little bit light in the front line. You know, having these Brave Shamans on some chariots would have helped somewhat in not just getting completely run over by the Battle Pilgrims, right? But anyway, Manticores do a pretty decent job there, and yeah, it's an awesome game. What can I say? Really, really fun stuff. So big thanks again Oops for sending that in. Hopefully you enjoyed. If you like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification every time I upload a new video. You'll be notified. Thanks again. We'll see you next time.